For many years, we knew that patients with cryptogenic stroke had a high chance of having underlying atrial fibrillation, only detectable with an implantable monitor. I think the neurology community accepted that. It made sense to them because we have always been trained to try to understand what is the cause of the stroke that our patient in front of us just had. The Stroke AF study deliberately turned that reasoning on its head and asked the question, what is the chance of finding atrial fibrillation with an implantable device, even when we don't think it was the cause of the stroke that that patient just had? Recognizing that even if it didn't cause the last stroke, the next stroke may be of a different subtype, and we want to understand the risk for future stroke. And actually, that's more important to the patient than understanding what caused the last stroke. The Stroke AF study showed that in high-risk patients with large or small vessel disease, the chance of finding atrial fibrillation with an implantable monitor was about 12% at 1 year. And we could find almost none of that 12% using traditional techniques. So in such a patient, if we really suspect that they have the substrate to have atrial fibrillation, the only way to find it is an implantable monitor.
Well, the Stroke AF study was really surprising to me, the results. I mean, the findings suggested that the incidence of finding atrial fibrillation in patients with strokes of known cause was similar to that of the Crystal AFib study. And I have started to change my practice a little bit. I have been more open to thinking about prolonged cardiac monitoring in patients who do not have cryptogenic strokes, just because they also may have multiple vascular risk factors. It could be from AFib. If I were to find AFib in those patients, and if those patients were on long-term anticoagulation, perhaps we may have been more successful in preventing the next stroke.
Regardless of the type of stroke that patient has, large or small vessel, if I find atrial fibrillation, their risk of having a stroke in the future is much higher, and I will start them immediately on anticoagulation.
Once Stroke AF came out, older patients with garden variety large and small vessel strokes were now considered strongly for cardiac monitoring. And in particular, we want to focus this effort on patients that are a good match for the Stroke AF population.